Hello everybody, this is Swiss. Today I'm going to make a video on Richard Hart. Yes, you heard it right. I'm going to make a video on Mr. Richard Hart. And I know some of you already have the urge to go in and follow me, to unsubscribe. I get it. If you have to do it, please do it, follow your urge. But if you can stick around for a little bit, you can hear me out and take it from there. Look, I have never done a video on Hex, I've never done any content on Pulse Chain, and I've never spoken about Mr. Richard Hart. Never! Well, except for a couple of Twitter threads back in 2020, I believe. They were quite popular within the Hexicon community because there was no one who was speaking about Hex back in the days, and anyone starting a decent thread and something encouraging was immediately embraced by the community, and it was fun to get so much feedback. No other community gave me so much feedback like the Hexicons back in the day. But whenever I said too much of the truth, or whenever I said something that was unpopular with the people, they would viciously attack me. Specific community members were extremely unpleasant on Twitter, and frankly speaking, I stopped creating content for Hex back in the days. And full disclosure, I've been a Hexicon since day one. I've been part of the community, and I've been closely following everything that is going on within the Hex community, within Pulse Chain, PulseX, and so forth. So I feel like I have something to say on this topic. And now, since we are pretty much and hopefully at the bottom of this bear market, and with so much FUD going around, especially in the Hexicon community, I just want to create like a piece of content just because it's a good time. I think it's a good time to say something here and there, and I think people need different perspectives from different type of people. And I've been mostly an active community member in the metaverse space, namely Decentraland and other very cool projects, and this is where my passion lies. But I do have an interest in crypto. I do have an interest in decentralized technology. I do have an interest in finance, and I do have some professional background in some of these areas. And I feel like this is something that I want to be in going forward. And I've been following Richard Hart in this space, and I feel like he has always enriched my perspectives. Some of the things he has said about certain communities, like for example the metaverse community or the NFT communities, I do partly agree with, even though it's not very nice. I mean, what did Richard Hart say about the metaverse community? Some of you haters out there, you probably have it already, no? Well, I can tell you what he said. He basically said, what we call metaverse today has always existed. This is just the waiting room inside regular computer games where people kind of meet before they start playing. The exact expression escapes my mind, but it's he's basically saying this is not a metaverse. What we are experiencing in Decentraland and on other platforms is just something that's always existed. There is no need for a special term for that. There's nothing new around that. And to be honest, he's not wrong. He's right. I mean, a lot of my community followers are perfectly aware that the current stage of the metaverse is nothing what we all imagine. The progress has been slow. It's hard to develop this space. It's hard to develop this community. And hopefully the metaverse will be something different, but right now it's nothing worth being excited about. He's saying the truth. Like, I've said the same things about the metaverse too. And I spend my life in it. So I don't think anybody in the metaverse community has to be upset with Richard Hart for saying anything. What about the NFT community? Richard Hart, did he attack the NFT community? Well, he did say a few things. What did he say exactly? Well, let me tell you what he said. He said JPEGs are not hosted on the chain, they are hosted somewhere on the internet. And the only relationship between the ownership of an NFT is just a link to a file hosted somewhere online. And he's absolutely right. Early NFT community members have always pointed this out. The actual asset is not on chain, it's hosted somewhere, and hopefully it's hosted on IPFS or on some kind of decentralized platform. So at least there is some kind of resistance against it being deleted randomly. But most NFTs are not really decentralized, that are not really hosted in a safe place. These are all centralized platforms hosting these NFTs for the most part. And I believe that to be true. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. Comment in the comment section below if this is not true. But I specifically remember people always said this early on in the community, and community leaders have confirmed this to me personally. Yes, that is true. But maybe over time things will change, but people just accepted it. They didn't care. They wanted to speculate. And nobody deleted any pictures off the internet. They were always available, so it worked. It worked just fine. But the truth is, you don't own the JPEG. It's hosted on a centralized server somewhere. You just own a serial number. And yes, he said that, and some people were upset about this. But I don't think the NFT community can be upset with Richard Hart because of that, because we all knew that and we all were okay with that. So then there is the Bitcoin community. And to be honest, I understand why they are upset. I mean, Richard was one of the biggest, if not the biggest proponent of Bitcoin, and somehow he turned his back on them and started to, quote unquote, compete with Bitcoin, with his product. To be honest, I understand if people in the Bitcoin community are upset with Richard. I get it. He has been pointing out flaws of Bitcoin all the time. He didn't waste any opportunity to point out some of the inflation bugs or whatever else happened to Bitcoin in its 13-year history. So yeah, he did. He was kind of aggressive, and if Bitcoiners want to be hostile against Richard Hart, I totally understand it, and be my guest, be hostile. I think he deserves it. Even though what he says kind of sounds right to me as well, you know? He's not totally wrong in certain aspects of it. How much innovation is there in Bitcoin? Maybe no innovation is needed. I don't even want to start this topic, but some of the things he said, they're not nonsensical, but I understand that some people, they are upset, and that's okay with me, I think, right? Ethereum, guys, like Richard was always supporting Ethereum. He never said a single word against Ethereum. He was praising Ethereum, and he built on top of Ethereum, and his projects copy Ethereum, like many other projects too. He's expanding the ecosystem. He's not stealing and copy pasting anything. He's doing exactly what everyone else is doing in the ecosystem, building an additional L1, like many people do. Some people build L2s. He added to the ecosystem and is building on top of it. He's always been a proponent of all of the decentralized tools such as Uniswap. Heck, half of the Hexicant community received airdrops from Uniswap because they were all using it right from the beginning. So I don't think anyone in the Ethereum space should be anyhow upset with Richard. I think he's done a lot to actually grow the space and grow the community until his project was disadvantaged and he had to make a pivot, and he's still built on top of the Ethereum tech. I think He's a friend of the Ethereum community, and there shouldn't be any hate from anyone. Now, did Richard call out people and founders in the space? Yes, he did. And I was kind of skeptical about this whole persona he built around that. And what surprised me in the end is that he was right about a lot of the people who eventually turned out to be scammers. He was like, he was warning people about not having self custody, and it all turned out to be true. I don't know, like, it's probably a coincidence. Maybe it was inevitable. But he didn't say anything bad. I think the only mistake he made is that he said it in a way that kind of triggered people. And I get it, that certain character types may feel some kind of internal conflict when somebody plays a certain persona or expresses and communicates in a certain way. I can understand this. I've had reactions in my life too, but it was never enough. It was never enough to have so much hate like some of the people that have come out after this recent SEC news. Important community members, people with a reputation to lose, have come out and they felt comfortable saying horrible things about Richard. I was like, wow, like, this is the moment where you decide to show your face and let everyone know in the community that you actually a hater. I've been a hater as well, don't get me wrong. I've done this mistake too. But I don't have like a huge following, to be honest. So, and people know me a little bit. I have my weaknesses. But it's funny how some of the more important community members couldn't hold back to come and say something horrible about Richard in a moment of weakness, even though he hasn't done anything bad to anyone. Yeah, he's been a bit of a character. Yes, he was a bit of a showman. Yes, he's American, for God's sake. Let me tell you a story. So Richard did a Europe tour by car. He has this white Ferrari with hex number plates, and he's driving through Europe, visiting city by city and making meetups at cool locations. And I happened to be in Switzerland when he came around to Zurich. So I drove down to Zurich. I attended the event in the best hotel in Zurich, pretty much. And I got to meet Richard. I shook his hand. I experienced the community for the very first time. We've seen him act and be in his persona during that day. And I happened to come a little bit early, and I was sitting in the reception, and I see him walking into the hall towards the reception to check on something organizational, I imagine. Somebody there was with a camera with him, and he had this weird Prada boots and a black jacket and some tight jeans. So it was, it was Richard and his style. But to be honest, like, when I've seen him, yes, he's an American guy. Like, he's a stylish American, self-confident guy who can afford to do things that other people cannot afford, and he lives his life. Like, was he intimidating? I think he was. I think he was intimidating. I think he's got a little bit of a vibe, maybe a little bit of an arrogant vibe. I don't know. It really depends on how you perceive it, because it's based on how your character is and how you perceive the outer world. This is the way you will perceive Richard. I think it's very subjective. I have perceived him a little bit as I think a regular Joe would not come up to Richard easily to start a conversation. And but I think I think I think this is not Richard. I think it's just the American culture. It's it's just not very compatible with the European culture, let's say. We look up to Americans because they're confident, because they're loud, because they have power, because they use specific words, because they greet you with confidence, because they look up, their chin is up, they believe in themselves. They're not necessarily the most humble of characters. But for me, this is a very much an American attribute, character trait, culture. In Switzerland, people are a little bit more reserved, a little bit more quote unquote humble or fake humble or whatever you want to define it as. But I think we are fascinated by people like this, and we love to look up to them. We love to look at them and see if we can pick up a trait or two, because I think these are great qualities that he has that a lot of people wish they would have, but they're difficult to combat. So I don't know. I don't know where the hate comes from, right? I could imagine that people who had lost some money on buying a token that he created, that they may feel salty. Yeah, I mean, I have lost money on tokens. It doesn't feel good. You look for somebody to blame. And if you have a persona that is out there like this, yeah, you can probably blame that person. But the truth is, if you are in multiple projects in this space, it's all the same. All of the projects are down 90, 95, 99%. All of the projects. Some of the blue chips, maybe they are not. But the rest is all down in the same way. The chart looks the same. There is no difference. On the contrary, there are many projects that I was involved in 21, 22 that went down so badly, and the founders cannot be found. They're just gone silent, especially in the NFT space. Some people are just taking a break for the whole bear market. Some people are promising something in the distant future and then like go quiet. A lot of them, to be honest, most of them. Most of the gaming projects have never delivered anything to date. They keep on postponing the launch date. Their tokens are down. They have no strategy. They have no market making abilities. They have nothing. They are spending money to pay salaries. Everything is down. I don't think you can point fingers at Richard if you had bought any of the products that he has created at the worst time possible. Yes, we are all disappointed. And yes, this whole pulse chain thing, that's a whole topic on its own. And I'm going to cover this next. I just wanted to get the basics out of the way. I don't think Richard Hart is a scammer. I don't think scammers go and visit every city in freaking Europe and meet people and make an effort to have a personal conversation with people. I mean, it's not typical scammer behavior. I don't see scammers making 8-hour-long streams. I don't see any of his behaviors to be scammy. He's an American dude who is loud and who is self-confident and who needs to stick out among 20,000 other projects, and he's chosen a way of doing it that worked for him. I mean, he went from 50,000 followers to 300,000 followers in a short period of time, whereas most of us couldn't go above 2,000 followers for this in the same time period, because he is better tactics. Yes, some people don't like them. Yes, he says stupid things sometimes. But apparently they work for a lot of people. So I don't know. I'm not going to point fingers at him, and I'm not going to talk badly about him, and I'm not going to accuse him of crimes and misbehavior because he's a good marketer for the target audience that he's aiming at. If you want... Okay, so the other thing is he had this campaign with this clothes. Let's quickly cover on this. And I was like, did I like it? Let me be honest. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. I mean, the guy went to the same shops like all of the other influencers that you guys follow in Dubai or whatever. They go to the same freaking shops like he did and they buy the same stuff. Maybe they buy better stuff. But they all do it. But with Richard, you are hating. Why? Because he's fat? Shame on you. I mean, seriously. Or you hate all of them. How about Crypto? How about all the other guys in Dubai? You can go and hate in their comment section. You can go and say they should go to jail. And some of you do. All the influencers have been shopping. But you don't like it on Richard. I don't know. Honestly, hey, I have been a hater. Yes, I have. I get it. I don't want to teach you anything. I don't want to point fingers. I get it. But it's not right. I don't think it's right. And sometimes you can hate on people. And the Bitcoin community, you go right ahead. You go right ahead. I think you guys have a reason not to like him. But everybody else, come on. Doesn't make sense to me. Okay, let's talk about Pulse Chain then. I think, and this is probably mostly for the Hexagon community, but no, I think there's so many people who have also hoping for the Pulse Chain to turn out to be better. Yes, there was a 1-year delay. The thing is, I was upset too. But the truth is, if I look at every other project, especially in the Web3 gaming space, let's say, they're all behind. They're all behind. And having launched earlier wouldn't have helped. Wouldn't have helped. We are so deep in the bear market, nobody was expecting for us to go this long. I didn't. So I don't know if he has some kind of way of seeing into the future or having a good way of estimating these cycles, then he did the right thing. Like, yes, 1 year is a long time and we have been waiting and hoping, and I kind of had some hope in there too. But eventually he did launch. He did launch eventually. So that's he delivered what he promised there. Even though he didn't promise anything, but he still delivered. And PulseX was probably the biggest disappointment. The decentralized exchange project. Very big disappointment. I think it's still not finished. I'm not even gonna pull it up right now, although I wanted to. It's an unfinished product. But at the same time, if I go through dexscreener.com and I look at all of the other chains that have recently launched, they all look the same. They all have the same freaking tools. The same decentralized exchange, the same chain. He has done pretty much the same like everybody else did. He built on top of the Ethereum ecosystem. And now we actually have games that build their own chains too. So like this is the trend, and he has hit the nail on the head. The question is L1, L2, but otherwise everything is he's doing it right. And let's see he hasn't failed, right? We are just late on a lot of the features, and I hate it. Why are we so late? Why is PulseX so underdeveloped? I hope there is a reason for this. And it looked like he was not using the past 2 years properly to make progress on this project. It does look like it. And I really don't like that. No websites are up. PulseX unfinished. Yes, I think this criticism is justified. Even though we are yet to see why this happened. If there is a good reason, I can respect that. But for now, yeah, this is a valid criticism. Let's see if he can catch up. But we still have time. Still have time. So for the Hexicans who are worried about the price, yes, the price is really bad. I understand. I think in contrast to where the price was, for those people who were holding all the way through and they're disappointed, I understand. I'm disappointed too. He said that there is a very good chance that Hex will perform well in the bear market. And it just doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. Well, if you really want to be honest, between you and me, I hope he's not going to hear this. If you really want to be honest, if you bought in early enough, and I'm not saying like at the lowest point, just early enough, and if you manage to DCA a little bit during the lower times, you're still massively up. It's just that people were up so much that it feels like they are poor now. But every other projects that you hold in your portfolio is near zero compared to your Hex position. So you have to be intellectually honest here. Even though I don't like to say it out loud, you have to be intellectually honest. It's still up a lot. And everything else is FUD. And everybody who is in Hex for a long time knows this. Yes, there are a lot of people who came late, and they need to be patient, and it's rough. And it's scary because sometimes it feels like he's going underground and he disappeared and there is no more outrage marketing. We just don't see him that often. And then this whole SEC thing, you really don't know what to expect from this. But we have, until now, we have no reason to believe that something is going wrong. Except for us being late on Pulse X and its features and on the websites not being up. Like these two things, I would have loved to have them up. But other than that, we don't have any reasons to be super nervous. Yeah, the price is down hard, yes. So is everything else. Let's be honest. So is everything else. So let's see. Let's see, guys. I could be wrong. Maybe Richard is gonna scam us all. But maybe not. There is no reason to believe that it's a high probability. I think we need to sit tight. And I think next time around we need to manage our cash better. You need to take some profits, build a cushion so you don't have to fear for your life during bear markets. But now it's too late. This was a mistake many people did, and they got wrecked on everything else. And the last thing that they were up on was Hex, and now it's down too. Of course you're upset. And of course you're pointing fingers. And I am the same, not gonna lie. But hopefully things will turn out for the better soon. And hopefully many of you can celebrate again and build future plans again. Alright guys, I'm gonna wrap it up over here. If you still want to go in and follow me because I made a video about Richard Hart, then please do so. If you're a Hexican or a Pulsican or a Pulse Hexican and you want to leave a positive comment under this video, do so now. I would appreciate that. And maybe I'll consider doing more videos at some point in a distant future. Alright guys, I see you in the next video. If you want to, feel free to subscribe to the channel and join our Metaverse community. Bye bye.